I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd just like to inform everybody that in accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over Lunenburg Public Access. Take roll call. We are all present and accounted for. I'd like to welcome our newest member, Michael Ray Jeffries. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment from the board?
I'd like to make a public comment.
Sure, go right ahead.
Sure. As the newest member of the board, this has been a good opportunity. As these last couple of days, several citizens have had the time to reach out to me, wish me well in this new endeavor, also express some concerns that I'm sure I'll have the opportunity to present to the board, most of which, however, I think were related to the Department of Public Works. So I did have the opportunity today to go down to 40 Pioneer Drive, and I was doing a site walk, but I ended up being able to speak with the president of the company, which I didn't anticipate. And it was, quite informative about the history of the company, their environmental focus, as well as this current plan that they're putting forward. So again, I want to, say thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and thank you.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one public comment. The Board of Selectmen is looking for citizen comments to the Architectural Preservation District Commission guidelines. These can be found on the homepage of the town's website on the right-hand side under Files and Documents. This will be a public discussion item at the Board of Selectmen's August 1st meeting. Citizens are welcome to provide their comments to the Board of Selectmen's office or to attend the meeting on August 1st. Any public comments from the public? All right, we'll go right into our first public hearing at 40 Pioneer Drive and 98 Leominster Shirley Road. If you wouldn't mind reading the public hearing notice again.
It is here. The Lunenburg Planning Board will hold a public hearing on July 24th, 2017, 6:35 p.m. in the Joseph Bellata Meeting Room, Town Hall, 17 Main Street, Lunenburg, Mass. To hear and discuss an application for a site plan approval under Section 8.4 and special permit under Section 4.7 of the Protective Bylaw of the Town of Lunenburg for construction of an addition for office and warehouse space at 40 Pioneer Drive, map 146, parcel 22, and 98 Leominster Shirley Road, map 146, parcel 24. Applicant is Ecological Fibers Incorporated, 40 Pioneer Drive, Lunenburg, Mass. Owner is Quill Lunenburg Realty LLC, 405 George Hill Road, Lancaster, Mass. 01523. Materials are available for viewing at the planning office, 960 Mass Ave, Lunenburg, Mass. 01462. Thank you.
Does the review engineer have a copy? All right, thank you, sir.
Just, Mr. Chair, these are same as were distributed, correct?
Yes.
There's no edits to these? Okay. I know how you hate last-minute edits.
I do. Good looking at it.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Cleaves. I'm with Whitman and Bingham Associates, design engineers for the project. Also with me tonight is Walter Bennett, who is the building contractor here, and then a representative from Ecological Fibers, David Robbins, as well, in case we have any questions for them to answer. So what I passed out before you is a colored rendering of the site plan. Basically, nothing has changed from what was submitted. I just colored it up a little easier to see what's going on. And then the other packet that was distributed are some of the architectural plans that we have at this point, elevations and kind of the building floor plan. So what we're here for tonight is propose approximately 68,000 square foot expansion to their existing building. Property is located on Pioneer Drive. If you're familiar with the area, it's really the only property on that side of the road in Lunenburg. Pioneer Drive is an industrial park that's mainly in Leominster. We're just about the corner of Pioneer Drive and Leominster Shirley Road. Point of reference, just across the street from this is that somewhat new gas station right across the way there. So again, 68,000 square foot addition, primarily for warehouse. I'm going to redo some of the office, basically move that space around. But primarily, it's a warehouse expansion. And so in order to accommodate that expansion on the site, we have to relocate some existing parking. We're actually adding some parking there as well from what already exists. We're going to maintain the existing entrance. That's if you're looking at the plan, the left-hand entrance there that's shaded in gray off of Pioneer Drive. That's where their existing driveway is now. That brings them into the side of the building where they're parking and their existing office doors are there now. And then you come in from that entrance and you can go left or right to the new parking areas. And then the right-hand entrance, as you continue closer to Pioneer Drive, that would be the entrance for the delivery trucks, as we're going to have loading docks off of the end of the building. That's where the loading would be, in that location. The utilities for the site, we have water and sewer already servicing the building that's in Pioneer Drive. For the domestic service, we're going to just tie in internally to the existing water within the existing building. Sewer as well. Not going to have a new sewer connection out to the street for that. But we are going to have a new separate fire service for the expansion. That would be a new line coming out to the street. And the utilities, the water and sewer for this section, although we are technically in Lunenburg in this part, they're actually Leominster utilities. And then for the stormwater, I can point some of this out. So we have, water comes off the hill here onto the property, and there's existing stormwater that runs along the existing building, which that's going to be abandoned. And basically, we're going to create a swale on the back of the building, intercept this water as the back of the building does now, and then run that to a collection point, out to a drain manhole, and then out to the street. So that's just to pick up the surface water that comes off onto the site. Separate from that, we have a new line for the improvements, the building and the parking area. Roof drains will tie into the header here for the roof drain, tie into a manhole, and this will be piped into one of the stormwater basins on this side of the site here. Also a catch basin here to try and pick up as much of the parking and loading flow as we can. Pipe that into the stormwater basin with an overflow outlet structure out to the existing system at Pioneer Drive. Basically, everything eventually gets to Pioneer Drive. And then we have another catch basin down here at the entrance to try and just have as much water so it's not just spilling onto Pioneer Drive, tie that into the stormwater system as well. The front portion of the site here, this existing this proposed parking area, will pick up some of the roof drains on this side of the building, and then pipe those along with catch basins for the parking lot into a stormwater basin in the front. Outlet structure, again, tying into the existing system in Pioneer Drive. And another catch basin on this side to pick up the area. That's a brief overview. I guess it's at this point, whatever the board would like to do. We have had a review from Gray's Engineering. I'd be happy to read those point by point if you'd like. How would you like me to proceed?
Do you want to open up questions from the board first, and then we can go over the engineering review after? Or you might be able to address some of our questions in the meantime as well. So I'll open it up to the board for questions.
So it looks like there was a previous curb cut off to the left. Is that correct?
There's an existing curb cut here.
Yeah, go down further. Is that a curb cut towards the end of the? Yeah.
Yes, there's an existing loading area here on this end of the building that we're not doing anything down here. That's correct, yeah, this area right here is existing, correct.
Is that going to remain
Yep,
parking?
we're not
and-
changing anything over in here.
Are those considered curb cuts?
What's that?
Are those are still considered curb cuts?
Yes, it's
So
access
this is
onto
a
Pioneer
proposed
Drive.
third.
Because I thought in our
We have a limit of 2.
parking bylaw, 6.4.3.2 has a limit of 2.
Per street.
No?
No, we have to consider the frontage, and they minimize it to 2. This is from residential, but for every additional 100 feet of frontage, they're allowed another. But again, that's existing. And we could look at it a little differently, because it is an addition, but, I'm sorry. I don't see anywhere where the frontage is listed. Oh, actually, it must be.
And where are
in the
you
chart.
getting that from, Matthew?
Actually, it's from residential zoning for driveways. I'm not quite sure about curb cuts and commercial.
I don't see it listed as,
I know it's specified in residential, and if you've got 200 feet of frontage, you can have one curb cut, and you can have an additional one per extra 100 feet.
okay, so if they have 400 feet, they could,
Well, no. So that's saying they have 957 feet of frontage. On page 5 of 8, plan set. So it's a good concern. We should make sure they don't specify it for commercial. And the proposed widths are within the requirements, I believe.
general parking.
So since we don't have Adam, if I may,
Sure.
can I suggest that we have that as a question for him? Curb cuts?
Yeah, we're gonna have to, because it says.
Yeah, I don't know if you were aware that
Per
Mr.
street
Bernie
line.
had a personal matter he had to attend to.
Yeah, no,
today,
I did not.
Last minute, so.
Okay, so basically, I understand the concern being that the zoning has a maximum number of curb cuts as 2.
Per street.
Yes.
Per street
2 per street line.
line, correct.
It's under section 6.4.3.2, if you just want to write that down.
And then I had another related question on the, plans that were forwarded.
Actually, we have
This may probably be my own ignorance, but why are you listing the, according to the bylaw that my research said that, you have to have 1 per 1,000 square feet, right? 1 space for parking?
One,
Have a parking factor of 0.5, of half a space per 1,000 square feet.
one
Is that-
space.
Where did that come from?
So that is from the ITE manual for International Traffic Engineer Manual, as the 1 per 1,000 is for office. Most of this building is warehouse, and they're there isn't a factor in the Lunenburg zoning for warehouse.
Yeah.
But there is a section that says, for uses not specified above, required space can be determined through, by the building official based on accepted planning standards. So the ITE manual
Okay.
is an accepted planning standard.
you're
So
using.
so that's
Okay.
what we use there. And again, to also further discuss that, so basically the expansion of the building really isn't going to generate the need for many more employees. It's basically storage space. They have about 60 parking spaces now. We're going to have 95. So we're actually adding 35 parking spaces with very little increase in employees or the need for additional spaces for the warehouse. So we feel as though there's adequate parking, one, based on ITE manual, but also based on their facility.
Is there also parking in that other area?
No, it's strictly loading.
Strictly loading?
Yeah, there's loading docks there. And so if I can, just to go back to that zoning section, again, I'm not going to read it all right now, but obviously we'll end up discussing this with Adam. But are you aware if the planning board say this is something that there isn't a statement in here that allows us to do that? Was that a planning board waiver potential, or is that something the zoning board of appeals, or would we know that at this point?
I believe we can, that's in the actual bylaw, not the rules and regs, so we can waive basically anything in the rules and regs, but I don't think we have the ability to waive.
I wasn't sure if the planning board had the
bylaw itself.
authority on certain sections to make those considerations or not. Okay, we can,
And again, we're not
Yeah.
abundantly clear, I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that.
That's what I
we
just trying to-
address it prior to.
just trying to throw it all out there while we're all here tonight.
According to the application, it's for 2 properties. Where's the property line for the second?
So we have,
Yeah, protective.
so I believe the assessors list this as 2 parcels?
98 Lemonster Shirley Road and 40 Pioneer Drive is the,
There's a, right here,
okay.
there's actually, the assessors has it listed as a separate property. It's contiguous, under the same ownership.
And that's what's shown on the existing conditions.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we do have a light dash line to show where that actual boundary would be.
I just had a couple more questions, but I think a couple of them are going to be covered under Jeff's review about the neighboring buildings being shown.
Sure, go ahead.
And is there going to be a landscape plan?
So we've shown trees here on
Okay,
this. Yep,
that's
so
what we're going to
it's-
see?
Yeah, so this is what we're planning and gonna try to base that on the zoning code, I believe. It's 1 tree per 8 parking spaces, so we've shown about 13 trees to accommodate that. And then a parking space has to be within 30 feet of each tree. And so, yeah, it's very lightly, but you can see on some of the plans, we've shown circles around each tree to help identify that we've done that. There's a tree within each of those spaces to try to do that. So it's, for now, we're just showing basically the minimum amount. The expectation is we'll probably end up planting more than what we've shown here, probably some ornamental trees. We're considering putting up in the entrance area here, shrubbery plantings. This was, I can show you some of the renderings. It hasn't been set in stone yet, but this, so as you were to come up the site drive here, up to the office, you know, some bushes, some plantings are expected in along the building. We haven't determined exactly what for that. We wanted to at least show the trees, because that was something that's right in the zoning, that you need to make sure you have the right amount of trees for that, so.
I'm sorry, are you done?
Yes, please.
So just a couple quick questions. this driveway is primarily for loading. What type of loading vehicles are we talking about? These are going to be 18-wheelers?
Yep,
Or
yes.
primarily
Yes.
18-wheelers? And is the loading provision a pull-in loading, or is it a back-in loading?
Back into loading docks.
But are they backing into the driveway from the road?
Oh, no, you pull in, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, there are other facilities on Pioneer that have to back in from the road.
Yeah, so it's basically, for either direction, pull right in, so the loading docks are in this section here. So you pull in, and that's why we have this extra bump out area.
So there's room in there to maneuver 18-wheelers for backing into the loading dock?
Typically like to have, a good rule of thumb is 120 feet from your loading dock to the edge of pavement. And that's kind of an absolute minimum for trucks that do the maneuvering. We have 130 feet, so we got an extra 10 feet there. And again, we thought we really need to have this for the docks that are closest here, so a truck would come, swing, and then back right in.
Okay. And any thought on the frequency of vehicles pulling in and out of this loading area?
Do you have an idea of how often?
How many trucks, how often per
A
day?
day.
Is that what
Yeah.
you're asking? Typically, in the morning, I'll have, this is a wild guess, but we'll have trucks delivering supplies in the morning, and they're typically full truckload supplies that we buy direct from paper mills. So we're talking about one truck pulling up, and maybe in the morning we'll get 5 or 6, and in the afternoon, maybe, typically we're shooting at least half the full trucks, so it's not like a big pack where somebody's pulling up and taking a skid. So maybe 6 to 8 in the afternoon, but most of the day goes by and there's nobody there.
Okay.
You know, so we're
So maybe a dozen a day, give or take, you thinking?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're basically manufacturing throughout the day so we can ship at the end of the day. That's what's happening.
Ken, if I can add to your question.
Sorry, yeah, if you wouldn't mind just coming up to the microphone and identifying yourself.
Oh, sure. Do you want me to do that now or next?
Next comment, if you wouldn't mind, that would be great, sorry.
Ken, if I can tag onto your question as well. In the proposal that was sent forward to us, there's a note in here, that says that warehouse space is not a large traffic generator, typically generating an average daily vehicle trips per day of 5 trips per 1,000 square feet of warehouse space. And with this expansion being 61,345 square feet of warehouse space, my numbers come out to 306 trips per day. When I met with your president today, he said that this is not accurate. And then he also reiterated to me that currently this business is renting out space in Leominster, and that this proposal is meant to provide for the current needs as well as your future needs. And he did mention that the current traffic coming in and out of there does not equal what this says. So I'm very interested in what the actual traffic would
Plus,
be.
like you were just mentioning, is about 12 trucks per day.
About 12 trucks per
The numbers
day.
you're referring to in the synopsis, that's based on ITE manual, for expected, and every business is different, so you have studies on warehouse space. That's the studies they've done on warehouse space in general, that's what you expect. This business, the way it operates, as was just mentioned, does not have nearly to what ITE expresses for that.
And if I may to jump ahead, one of the waiver requests, I believe, was for the traffic impact?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because it is in a park?
Yeah, trip generation waiver was requested. They did give a traffic transportation and circulation overview. So they're requesting 4 waivers.
Yeah, I think the 12 or so per day is not really going to generate that much of a concern. The reason I asked the question is because I was concerned about the amount of traffic inflowing and out of there right across from the parking lot to the gas station and Dunkin' Donuts, because if there's going to be a large number of vehicles in there, it could create a traffic issue in that little section, because there's already a large volume now of vehicles pulling in and out of that spot that's right across from your proposed driveway.
And the nice thing too, with how this site is set up, where we are so offset from the road, I'm not familiar with this project, but I don't know if people have to queue outside to
There's-
get in.
Sorry to jump in, there's no curb cuts on Pioneer Drive, they're all on Leominster Shirley Road for the gas station.
I'm talking about the gas
That's not
station.
true.
No, there is a curb cut. It's shown right
There's a
there.
curb cut, it's in the drawing, but you pull out and take a left on the Pioneer.
Oh, all right.
It's a pretty heavily driven,
So I think if anything, if there's traffic associated with the gas station, it actually just impacts them. They're gonna have free-flowing access right in as soon as traffic allows. If they're coming this way, it's a nice right turn right into the property, well set off the road, no queuing issues there. And coming this way, unless there's a backup because of the gas station, they can't pull in, they'll have to just sit like everyone else. waiting.
yeah, there's no queuing typically on the road. They have a relatively large parking lot, so the queuing gets
Yeah, so the nice-
covered inside the parking
The
lot.
nice thing with Pioneer Park, it's a very straight road, plenty of sight distance in either direction. So if there is traffic with the ones across the street, everyone can see each other. They can make safe turning movements and the Pioneer Drive is very wide too, so that's why we were kind of asking for the waiver, is that we didn't see any improvements that really would be needed for here. It's an industrial park, industrial use, it's actually made for this. Good point on the traffic generation, no, I think,
Just out of curiosity, and if you don't know this, it's okay, and it's really outside of just it's completely outside our jurisdiction, but I'm just curious, does Pioneer Drive allow
Goes right across.
tractor trailers to enter down through the shopping plaza? And
yeah, there's no
come-
restrictions.
There's no restrictions there? All right, so there will be tractor trailers flowing both directions on this
Could
road?
be, yep, and
Okay.
depending upon where they're going, where they're coming from.
Okay, great.
There appears to be, is that a wall dividing to the northwest in the parking lot where the trailers are? Yeah, is that a wall?
Yes.
Separating the dumpster, I'd imagine?
No,
Is
so
it-
there's an at-grade door
Oh, okay.
there too. So
Okay.
because they're so close to each other, there's basically a 4-foot difference between the two.
Yeah.
We need a wall to separate that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Good comment.
I have a few questions. Most of them are related to the waivers you're requesting. When I spoke with your president, John Quo, today, one of the things he asked was about, he wanted more trees. One of the things I personally like about this factory is that as you approach it, prior to today, I've never driven into the parking lot. I had no idea just how big this building really was. And I think that with the current vegetation, that it really does a good job of kind of concealing it. And speaking with the president, that seemed to be in line with his vision for the factory, was that they wanted to, try to do, how he expressed it to me was that it was important to him to, have a place that didn't look like a factory. That he wanted it to be in a couple more trees. He did ask me a question, and I did have an answer for him for it, which was about more trees. And my understanding is, he asked why there can't be more trees along the road. And I told him at the time I didn't know the answer to that. And speaking with the Conservation Commission, my understanding is that it's related to the water runoff that is planned between the parking lot and the road. So the answer, so I'm trying to do my due diligence here and say, if you can go back to Mr. Quill and make him aware that was the
Sure,
reason.
And I can kind of discuss that a little bit too. So we have a stormwater basin in the front of the site in order to mitigate the increase in the impervious surface. We typically don't want to do it, we don't want to have trees in the stormwater basin. You also have, a berm to hold that basin together. When you start putting trees too close to that earth berm or inside, you can have concerns with the root structure, possibly damaging the structural integrity of that. So that's why we would not want to put anything in there. We've shown trees along the edge of the parking there too. And then you could put some low screening too, some bushes and things like that. And also too, that kind of grove of trees I think you're referring to, there's one grove over here, and then there's another one right here. So we're trying to maintain as much of that as we can. Yes, someone's gonna have to be cleared for that, but, there still should be some growth there too.
Now, looking at your plan, your snow removal plan, I believe this is page 4 of what was presented to us initially. What appears to me is that the snow banks that are proposed, Your parking lot is 60 feet wide, if the measurements are correct, and it would seem that it's unavoidable to put snow right along this basin.
You're probably going to have a windrow of snow. And there, it's difficult not to do that, but the primary snow storage areas that, are intended is going to be trying to push as much out in here as we can, and all of this, kind of push this out into this area. This parking lot, try and push it all over in here, and try to eliminate and minimize as much as we can in there. If snow does end up there, I think in this particular case, I don't see that as necessarily a bad thing. Water isn't sheeting off into the basin where the snow here is going to stop it. We have catch basins here along the berm to intercept that water. If anything, say you have the dirty snow, it's good, it's going to go in the basin. If it does end up going in there, we want to capture some of the sediment in there. Sure, it wouldn't surprise me if some snow gets in there, but I don't see that as a negative that's going to hurt the design or anything. They're not going to be able to push it all the way into the basin and then fill the basin up with snow. More than likely be on the edge. But yeah, it's a good point to probably look at some windrows there, but also we're going to be planting trees there. It's going to be tough to push snow too far without hurting the trees too. So it's, the guy plowing may not be happy with where he's going to have to push the snow, but the trees kind of make it tough to put too much there anyways. Good comment.
I have a couple more. When were the abutters notified of this plan? Because looking at the Google Maps and driving by there today, it appears as though the house that's on Livingston Shirley Road kind of uses your back area as like an extension of their yard.
So we have the abutters list that was given to us from assessors, and I believe that the town does the notifications?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Marjorie
yeah.
was just commenting, it was the July 5th, 2017 is when,
Notices went out?
No.
That's when we received the
that's date
abutter
of the
list.
abutters list. I notified the abutters 2 weeks prior to the public hearing.
Okay. And have you at all heard anything from the?
No,
or the
we
company?
haven't gotten any call. So which abutter was that, just so I'm just aware?
It's the little yellow house there on the, it's like, yeah, it's right over, yeah.
Yeah, no, we haven't gotten any calls that I'm aware of from any concerned neighbors.
Is that still Padula's house, or?
I don't know.
I don't see them listed.
Because one of the requests that you had was for the light waiver. And my only, I think that looking at this design, I think you guys have been very creative with minimizing the impact to the existing, tree lines. It seems like a really maximal use of the space that you were allotted. My only question is with the lighting, this is going to pretty much be in there closer to their yard. Now, I'm sure people who live next to industrial property, or actually I think they're living in zoned industrial area, that they're aware that this is, something that can happen. But my real concern is without a lighting plan, how can we make a good decision on what the lights are going to be as far as when they're looking out their back window, what are they going to see?
So what we did, we have shown lighting on the plan. We have wall-mounted lights on the building, that's pretty much what we're planning on doing.
Yeah, he's here.
If the need arises to have pole lights, we could add them. We weren't planning on doing that at this initial stage, but Lunenburg's regulations require dark sky compliant lighting. All these lights would need to have shields, angles to them, such that the spread is right along the building. The nearest abutter here is over 250 feet away.
Yeah.
And there's a line of trees that are still going to remain between there. So I think because of the nature, the proximity of our project, the limited lighting that we're having, Lunenburg zoning that we have to adhere to anyways, we didn't feel a photometrics plan was needed to show that this light here is going to have 0 candles on this guy over 200 feet away. So that was why we asked for that waiver, this particular case.
So incidentally, that is a residential use in an industrial zone.
Yeah, the house.
Yeah.
Is in an industrial zone.
It's in.
Yeah.
But it is the use. It's the use that the,
Yeah.
yeah. I have a question.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I was going to be quiet this meeting.
Yeah, you were going.
I had a true thought today, so that's why I'm mumbling. A question, I heard you say that the roof runoff is being directed into the basin,
Yes.
and I don't understand why that would be. It's clean water, so why isn't it recharged?
The basins are recharged.
Okay, so I mean, why doesn't the roof runoff go directly into subsurface recharge rather than surfaces?
The
Just
soils don't, the soils in the back there would have high groundwater. If you put them right in the back, then it wouldn't work.
Okay.
So these are infiltration basins, so they have more than enough volume to meet the recharge for that. So that's, they
Okay.
will be infiltrated. Yeah,
Good.
question.
Thank you.
I just have a general question. Are you, probably for the gentleman, I missed his name, the representative from the company?
David.
What is it?
David Robbins?
Oh, David. Are you, is you're a printer?
No.
Now, here's your chance.
Yeah, my name's Dave Robbins. I'm Vice President of Ecological Fibers. So your question was, are we a printer?
Yeah.
No, printers are our customers.
Okay,
So our company sells into people doing books, commercial printing, and also packaging.
okay, so you produce the papers and the materials for, the raw
Yeah,
materials
so,
for their books?
If you have a Harry Potter book, a John Grisham book,
Yeah.
a Stephen King book, those are our papers on the outside of the cover
Yep.
and the end sheet.
Okay, very good. Nice.
So,
Thank you.
welcome.
And my understanding is that this is an environmentally responsible process, that you guys are competing with markets in China and South Korea as far as...
Absolutely true. Yeah, so we, I don't want to take up too much time, but we did have, we have a facility down in Rhode Island that we transformed over to, from solvent to water-based. It took about 10 years, but they're a zero reporting company, so they report no hazardous waste whatsoever.
Nice.
So, and of course,
Excellent.
our facility here is just paper, so.
Great,
Super.
terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is all the roof runoff going to be collected by gutters and drains, so there's no...
Yes, yep, they all come down to headers on either side. So we have, connection points to this header here, and this one gets piped out to this basin. Same thing along this side. They get tied in, some get tied to this one, some tied to this one here.
Okay. So there's no chance of like ice or
Yeah,
snow
yeah,
falling
yeah,
off?
I'll go under.
Just with the 5 feet between the
Yeah,
building and the parking
absolutely.
spots, it seemed a little thin, so that...
Yeah, absolutely, good question, yeah.
And the elimination of the previous, I believe you have a pump and an old drainage system,
So some of that is old drainage and old sewer.
but you've accounted for it, it's all going to be handled under the new
They're all
system.
going away, so.
But the runoff from the existing building will be handled by the new system?
Yes, so this runoff will still get, end up in the swale in the back. and
Okay.
go that way. And then, so everything that's internal now, instead of where it currently gets piped out and then down, it's gonna be picked up internally and gonna come out right here. We have a new manhole going in here to pick up the new internal piping for that.
Okay.
And then the sewer pump that was there, it's still there, but it's abandoned, it's not in use. Years ago, this was a septic system. And then when sewer became available on Pioneer Drive, they tied over to the sewer system. So that pump is no longer in service. Same thing, this will all get picked up internally and then utilize the existing sewer connection that comes out of the
Looking at the next to last page of the 234-page report, this is with regards to the
Stormwater?
watershed delineation. Is the, this is page 233. Now, I didn't see this depicted on other plans, but this would suggest that, and I'm not sure, that's why I'm asking. Do you plan on having piping underneath the building to connect over to the drainage?
If we're planning on having what?
Having piping underneath the building?
So there's going to be foundation drains
Okay.
to pick up any groundwater that is there, yeah.
Okay. So this doesn't depict anything connected over to the stormwater?
Internally, no, we have, the internal plumbing hasn't been designed yet. That's usually something that, when we get closer to building permit, the architects, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing guys will finalize the interior for that.
And that typically, my understanding is completely the typical for planning board, because that's our building code, which is state. My understanding, I think that might have been Switzerland's comment. Just to add that.
Do you have any pedestrian access doors on the loading dock, the new loading dock side, or?
There's a door right here, at this corner.
Okay.
So basically, it's, if people, this parking area probably, we've got primarily employees who come in here and utilize that door.
Is there a reason you didn't connect those parking areas? Just because you would lose parking either through the two parking lots or from the secondary road?
Some parking spaces in there to tie those in. Also, it's a nice separation between loading area and, office. Kind of keep the areas separate. So when someone, mix it and mingle in there.
Are you going to propose a sign to delineate that out by the road? Like deliveries only, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's been considered yet, but
It hasn't been discussed, but I know we have signs out there now that point to the back dock deliveries.
Right, you have your existing sign. Are you going to reuse that, or the location at least, or?
yeah, I'm not sure if it's exactly been determined
Nope.
yet.
Okay.
I think
Not
another.
a bad idea.
I think another comment Adam would have is that we can do this the same as the car wash was done, and have them come back for the signs.
Mm-hmm.
If that was, I think that would be,
Yeah, that was one of my questions was about signage. I'm not sure how you want to handle that, but.
Yeah, I'd like to, like Matthew said, we can address it. If they're going to relocate them to the same spot, then I don't see an issue, but if they're going to be adding new ones, as long as they meet the setbacks, they can put them on the plan, and then if they want to move them after the fact or decide they want them in a location outside of the...
Anthony?
so this is a site plan review plus a special permit. I don't think that we can continue it on that for Kevin and come back, but maybe we could. I'm not sure. But,
Well, I think if they, like they did, like you said with the car wash, if they leave it in the existing compliant spot, that's fine, but if they want to move it, or...
well, that was a different question though, because they had an existing sign that was not compliant.
So,
Now you're asking if they're gonna have a do
existing
not
monument
enter.
sign for the site, kind of saying, here we are.
Yep.
It's here, that's not moving, that's gonna stay.
Okay.
As is, but more than likely, it would be expected that there may be a sign here, as was alluded to, deliveries.
Yeah.
Maybe a sign up in here, office this way, parking this way. So we can add those to the plan. What we think is, it sounds like our best estimation of where they're probably gonna go, and then if something changes significantly, we'd have to come back to the board. Is that,
Yeah, it's a good, that's what we usually do.
I also see the dumpster is going to stay where it is over at the existing area. I see a construction detail for bollards, but I don't see any on the plan. I don't know. I know the gas service is in the front, I believe, of the new.
I'm not sure where those bollards.
Excuse me.
That may have been just a standard detail to put on there.
Right,
In
right.
the event that they're out there and said, geez, you know what, let's put a bollard at this building corner to make sure someone doesn't hit it. So I don't think we had especially put a spot for a bollard, because we're kind of, all the building corners are kind of,
Yeah, I was more concerned with like the gas service, because it's in between the parking lot and the building, so if somebody's unknowingly pushes snow up against it or something, it might want to be protected.
Not only that, when your electrical engineer gets a hold of it, you'll probably have a transformer somewhere.
Yeah, we gonna need another transformer, Walter, do you know?
The existing service is at the far end of the existing building.
Okay.
And they're right in the process now, I believe, the service upgrade, so.
Yeah, that's-
Reload the transformers over here as a result. This building will be fed from the existing building.
Thank you. Oh, I guess which brings up the question about lighting on the parking lot. Is that shown?
So at this point, we weren't having any poles planned
Yeah, they have.
for the parking.
Like
We're
sconces.
just picking it up the wall mount,
Okay, yep.
all on the building.
Yeah, it's on 3 of 8.
And that was.
Typical office hours are,
The office
Right.
or the whole
for the
operation?
whole operation?
Yeah, we run 2 shifts. We run basically 7 to 3:30, and then 3:30 to, I believe, midnight.
Okay.
Do you know how many employees you currently have?
That location has about 75.
And do you know how much you roughly anticipate
Not at one time.
Oh, not at one time.
through all shifts?
On all shifts.
And that's everybody, that's office staff, and,
Okay. How many are there during each shift? Roughly half, or?
yeah,
Okay. And how many do you see it increasing with the addition of the,
not many at all. Low single digits, if any.
okay.
Because my understanding is that you guys currently have these employees, you're really just consolidating into one location.
That's right. We just need more space for more inventory. That's what we're doing, so.
And did anybody else receive, I thought I received something from the fire chief about fire suppression systems?
Yeah, in our packets tonight, we received letters from the Conscom. Did you receive them as well? Did you receive the letters, the emails? or-
Yep, I
Okay,
got those
yeah.
this afternoon.
I've
Just go through them at this point.
misplaced mine, so.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, just I think it's a short email from each one.
So I believe the one I have one here, the Board of Health had no issues. Conservation Commission, fine, there are no issues with respect to the wetland protection or the local protective bylaw. At this time, the commission had no comments. There was comments from the sewer, through the sewer commission, and then basically that led to comments from the city of Leominster, because basically the sewer commission said, this ties into Leominster sewer. And then Leominster, via email, mentioned that we'd have to submit a water and sewer clearance plan for any new connections, basically, that their office would review, and then if they had any comments, they would respond back to Jack Rodequins and Barb for any issues they had. We're not proposing a new sewer connection. We're going to use the existing one, going to use most of the existing water except for a new fire service, so I don't expect any issues with any approval from the city of Leominster. That pretty straightforward, tapping sleeve connection and valve with a line run off the building. So that should be not much of a concern. And then get to the fire department. Like me just to read the comment?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
and
wouldn't
then
mind.
can just Expand.
Hi Marjorie/Adam, in reviewing this submittal, I would list the following for the fire department. There's little information on the fire protection on this project, other than an 8-inch main to feed the sprinklers. We'd be looking for plans for the fire protection in the new section, as well as a documentation that the existing section will meet current code. Building is almost doubling in size. B, given the size of the addition and the potential high dollar loss, if there was a fire, we'd like to have a reviewing fire protection engineer for the project as we have done on others. Sully. So Typically, at this stage of the game, we wouldn't have fire protection plans. That's usually part of the building permit process, is when we will get into that. So, all good comments, I think absolutely, we're gonna need a sprinkler plan to be reviewed for the fire department, but usually that's part of when you go to pull a building permit. Plumbing inspector looks at it, fire department, wire inspector, building inspector, so we don't have those at this point.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of it.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it would be due diligence upon the planning board to be sure that before we said anything yea or nay upon approval, that we be sure that the water services in the street existing can supply the required for the size. And I doubt there's even a question of that, but,
I think that's something we should follow up with Adam to
yep, that's always comment.
follow up with Sully.
We've already run on the flow test.
He means signatures.
Would you mind stepping up to the microphone? Sorry, it's just so we
You were
can-
just asking me a question.
Oh, okay.
I'm ready for Jeff.
Yep, is everybody satisfied for their initial comments?
Any more questions?
I'd like to add one more, just in response to the waivers. I think I'm very supportive of, normally, community impact, I believe statements are very important. But in your case, this is like an industrial park. There's really, I think it's minimal impact. So I just want to state that I would be supportive of, all four of their waivers.
Yeah, normally we'll address the waivers after we get the response to the review engineer's comments and things of that nature, so. But I do appreciate the comments. So yeah, Mr. Walsh, would you like to come up and address any concerns or comments you have? And feel free to elaborate if you have any input on any of the other things were addressed since Adam wasn't here.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, my name is Jeff Walsh. I'm with Graves Engineering. We're the peer review engineer for the planning board on this project, and for a number of other projects we've worked with you on in town here. We issued a letter on July 20th, our first review letter, basically dealing with site plan, stormwater management, general engineering, again pertaining to site development, not pertaining to building construction. We are civil engineers. I have a few comments for you. I'm going to explain them to you. I can say that none of them are earth-shattering or detrimental, fatal, if you will, fatal flaws to the project, none of those types of comments. But nonetheless, in our opinion, they need to be addressed. That's why we presented them to you. I'm going to take comments number 1 through 6 and lump them all together. These are requirements for certain pieces of information in the rules and regulations for site plan approval and special permits. That's 2 through 6, and in number 1, under the protective bylaw. In my opinion, we're reviewers for a lot of municipalities, and having sit through a lot of public hearings, different people want different pieces of information. For example, geez, how an abutter might stand up and say, where's my house in relation to this project? That's why they ask for 2 buildings with 100 feet and so on and so forth. So, don't want to belabor these points. They're important in the context of this project. Maybe nobody will discuss them, but nevertheless, that's the requirements of the regulations, and we saw that a few pieces of information were missing. Datum and things and so forth. It's not that it hasn't been done incorrectly, it's just we didn't see the information requested. Moving on to number 7, we reviewed the hydrology calculations. They did a very detailed analysis. You did see one of the post-development plans that you spoke of earlier. We're very comfortable with the hydrology. We went through all the different input data. We reviewed the output results and also went through the modeling and how the model was assembled, and we're very comfortable with it. So the hydrology calculations are in order. They did show decreases in peak rates of runoff going down to Pioneer Drive, is it? Yes. Thank you. Now, with respect to Mass DEP stormwater standards, again, now, that's got to do with no new discharges of untreated stormwater, no increases in peak rates of runoff, groundwater recharge, total quality, which we talk of total suspended solids removal. A couple other ones that would be applied to this project is construction phase, erosion sediment control plan, and then lastly, a long-term operation and maintenance plan. Those were all in order. With one exception, and it's not again, not a make or break, a wick drain was proposed in the basin, and I can understand why it's being proposed. It's basically a trench dug in the bottom of the infiltration basin, backfilled with crushed stone, to try to promote the last little bit of standing water that otherwise would have been on the surface, try to put it into something that it would dissipate into the ground. Unfortunately, when these trenches are proposed to have stone, it's so pervious that there's a hydraulic connection between the impounded water in the basin above the ground surface and the stone, the voids in the stone. So I've got to look at the voids of the stone as being, do they make the offset to groundwater required by Mass DEP? Similar to a septic system, different offset requirements, but nonetheless, it's a direct hydraulic connection from the impounded water to the stone voids, and therefore, that's where I got to measure the offset to groundwater. Unfortunately, they're pretty tight on this, and if they wanted to use a coarse sand, that would be fine. That, to me, that's allowed by DEP for Title V septic systems as being, you don't measure groundwater offset from that, and that would suffice here, or they could maybe reduce the height of the stone wick, whatever they choose to do. Again, not make a break. I appreciate where they're coming from, trying to get the thing to drain down dry, because that's a lot better than having shallow water mosquito breeders.
Is this the same, we ran into this with the water department?
That's right, exact same thing, same thing. And they had a very valid reason why they did what they did, but again, I've got to look at it from the Massachusetts requirements. Comment number 10, this would benefit the town by having, right now, there's 4 connections proposed to the drainage system, and I could see those 4 could be reduced to 2, and if I could approach the board.
Yeah, there's 3, could be combined.
There's an overflow connection from this basin to that drainage system. I don't have an issue with that. Over here, there's 3 different pipes coming into the town's right-of-way and going into the town's drainage system. It would be very efficient to have one manhole here where all 3 pipes connect and only 1 pipe go out to the street. I think it would be in the town's best interest to have 1 pipe out in that street instead of 3. There'd be some benefits to the contractor and the applicant as well, as far as, I assume there might be a benefit in construction costs. There's certainly a benefit in not having to cross the water and the gas lines 3 times over there, just once instead. Number 11, years ago, I used to work for a construction company. I plowed snow, I drove the trailer truck, I operated the heavy equipment. I think they have enough room to maneuver, but looking at this, as a semi-trailer came in here, the driver would probably want, if some of these doors are occupied, they might not be able to swing as deep as they would like to try to get the trailer in this direction as they start the backing maneuver. However, they do have quite a bit of room to work with, and they do have this bump out over here. If there's no trailers using the loading doors, they've got a ton of room. It's very comfortable. I think it's all right. I am very concerned, or at least I am concerned with any project, not this one, but any project that I don't want to see trucks backing into or out of a facility from a public way. Nose in, nose out. That's very important. I believe that can be accommodated. That's unlike the other end of the site, but that's existing. Nothing's proposed to be changed, but I do believe they back off the street into the loading docks over on that side of the site. And then, moving on to number 12 and number 13, I won't belabor it, but there's a couple small engineering things. Number 12, just riprap needs to be drawn. It's certainly intended to be there, just that layer might have been turned off or turned off in that or just something happened there, but it's just a drafting issue. And lastly, number 13, the drop-over manhole base, can also be referred to as a doghouse manhole. Those two would be used here and here. Those are special manholes. Install them over a drainage system, and then you cut the pipe open and then basically use the pipe as an invert. I want to make sure that there's an invert channel in that drain manhole when it's constructed. And just to lead a note, calling it out would make the contractor required to put that in. Years ago, you didn't always see drain inverts in stormwater manholes. Certainly see them in sanitary sewer, but nowadays, they're much more common, and one of the pet peeves I keep to take a look at when I review plans. But again, bear in mind. That's it, Mr. Chairman. I'd be glad to entertain any questions if any of the members have any.
Yes, through the chair.
Sure, go ahead.
There was some discussion about the capacity of soil, the groundwater. I didn't see any soil testing log. I assume you saw some soil testing?
That's correct. There were some soil testing logs there. There was some soil testing done around this area here, I remember, and I forget about this area over here. But I reviewed the soil testing logs, looked at the elevations, looked offset the groundwater, and they had satisfied the requirements.
So it actually looks like the majority of the infiltration is going to be performed by that smaller basin?
Both are proposed as infiltration.
I don't see any connection, any pipe connection
Into the basin, you mean?
from basin to basin, so
No, each one works independently. Basins, this basin receives water from a certain drainage area and discharges the overflow and infiltrates here. Likewise, this basin handles another area. There's no interconnection between the two basins.
and they're good on the TSS removal?
Yes, yes,
There's
they
no
are.
separators required?
Nope. I forget if they're proposing separators or not, but they certainly were good on the TSS removal. 25% from a deep sump catch basin. The infiltration basin with a forebay, which each one is set up with a forebay, gives you a total of 80. They're supposed to make 80. Here's where the math gets tough. You get 25% removal for the catch basin. You get 75% remaining, so you remove 80% of the remaining 75, which is about 57%. You add that to the 25%, they're just over 80% TSS removal. They may have taken credit for street sweeping, but nevertheless, they don't need it.
Good. If
And
you're
that does
good.
need to be an aggressive street sweeping program.
Sure.
Like any residential subdivision, as far as I'm concerned, towns don't have the equipment and manpower and financial resources to meet the requirement. Private sites such as like this, if they wanted to take credit, as long as they do the work, they can
Excellent.
take credit for it.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Jeff?
No, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll leave the rest, that's your stuff.
Yeah. So if I can,
Sure, go ahead.
so the only ones really for just me to discuss, I can basically go through each one of them. One, fine, we'll look at adding some of the species of trees. At this point, we didn't know exactly what species of trees we're doing. We can try and determine that. We do have a detail on the plan that does show what the minimum size and height are, but the species are on there, so we can try and look into that more and what they plan on doing for that. 2 is a statement. 3, we agree with the stamp. 4, this came up in a previous project too that we're involved with regarding that the regulations require the Mass State Plane datum. We used the USGS NGVD 1929 datum on this project. Reason for that is everything we've ever done in Pioneer Park has always been on NGVD 29. All the existing benchmarks, there are some bounds at the town line, they're all NGV 29. There's no floodplain in this area, most of the maps in this area are NGV 29, so we stuck with the NGV 29 because it matched other plans that we've done in the past. So on that particular one, we would ask for a waiver for the datum. to go to that.
No, I'm sorry, specifically for the vertical datum, not the horizontal?
Correct. And then we can, I believe they're on there. I believe we put coordinates on the plan. Yeah, because, yeah, so the coordinates are on there. We put it on the Mass State plan. Yep. 5, yes, we agree. 6, yes, we'll do that. 7 was a statement. 8 was a statement. 9 was the wick drain. Absolutely. We've discussed that before, and we didn't change the material type in the wick drain detail. We're going to change that to be the clean sand. So that was, we should have known better on that. We missed that in the update to the detail for Lunenburg. So absolutely, we're going to take care of that. 10 was regarding the addition of a manhole just onto the property. Absolutely, yeah, we'll add that. We double-checked the loading dock area. It's a great comment. And yes, we agree that when there are no trucks there, very easy. You got plenty of room to do whatever you'd like. When there are trucks there, you can still do it. You just have to be you have to just know how to drive a truck, so it's, so we're, like I said, I talked before, usually 120 feet is a bare bones minimum, that anything less than that, the guys start getting mad at us. We want 130, so we think it's, you have to be careful, you gotta pay attention. But yes, you can accommodate that there, but good comments, always good to double check. I hate to miss something like that, but we feel confident that we're good there. 12 and 13, yes, on that, and in 14, same thing, yep, we agree, and we'll make those adjustments.
Sorry, I just had one question for Jeff. Do you feel for the deliveries entrance, is there enough room in width for a truck to queue and wait for the other one to pull out before it pulls in?
Yes, on the approach, there definitely is enough room.
Anywhere, anywhere on that driveway, is there a place for to wait, and then because if they can't get in.
Almost 3, I'm thinking.
Okay,
Yep.
so they would have worst comes to worst, they'd have to wait until the spot clears out and they could back in.
Certainly could queue 2. The challenge backing in there is getting as squared up to the loading door as you can if you've got trucks on each side. When you don't have the trucks on each side, you've got the wiggle room, you can square up to the door as you're getting closer to the door, but when you've got to get in that alley between 2 trucks,
Right.
if you miss, you're hitting another truck. So that's why it gets to be a little tough. And then, of course, when the tractors turn one way and the mirrors aren't looking down the side of the trailer, that makes it very difficult.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that if they have room to queue, they can do it on site and not out in the road. so
Agreed.
that's-
Unfortunately, what I've seen at the facility, because of the gas, not because of this operation, but because of the gas station off the street, every so often I see a trailer truck parked over here that somebody seems to have gone into here for, not fuel, but the convenience store.
Right.
They're going in there for.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Probably for many of the businesses on that stretch, people do that.
Yeah.
Jeff, I'm sorry, another question. Is there a requirement for showing soil testing on the plans or a log in the?
There's no requirement for the plans, there's a requirement that it needs to be submitted, and the soil testing results
And-
were included
And it was, okay.
in the stormwater report, yes.
And I just wanted to back up to that one, but to follow on the parking area and the loading area specifically, you had mentioned a concern if the trucks were solid, non-articulated, but if they were articulated, you had a concern? Is that?
Any semi-trailers will be articulating between the tractor and the trailer. If they came in with a single-unit truck, it would be a much shorter truck. They've got all the room in the world to
Right.
handle the shorter truck.
But they're most likely going to be, I guess this is a question for the applicant, will you be receiving the semi-trailers? And so, in your estimation, would it be, behoove us to get a turning movement radii plan?
I'm feeling comfortable. I wanted to make sure, and I heard that they double-checked, and again, they're providing over 120 feet. Trailer truck is going to be the trailer could run up to maybe 53, 55 feet, and then the tractor might add another 25 from the fifth wheel to the front of the truck, so you're talking about 80 feet. They've got 120 feet, so they do have room to maneuver. I did put a churning template on it, And that's where I got to the comment. I could see that without a doubt, there's no problem going nose in, making the full swing, turn around and back in if that's what they wanted to do.
And not having to back into the street.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Matt, I'd like to add a comment to you, Matt. I think it can kind of answer some of this. My understanding is that the plans, and this goes to, I think, the vice president as well as to you, is that it's not going to be, to start, a true shipping, receiving, that it's going to be still a mixture where your current loading dock, and that it's going to take some time to fully utilize the rest of the building. Is that correct? That was my impression today after speaking with Mr. Quill.
And Mr. Quill mentioned that to you. I'm sure it might be a fair assessment. You're gonna be
Sure, I'll restate that and clarify it. My understanding is that in the plans that there's a shipping, that half the building is shipping, or shipping, the other dock is for receiving. And my understanding is that to start, once this building's constructed, that your current dock is going to be your primary, and that it's going to take a little bit of time to actually use both sides of the building. Is that true? Is that accurate?
He knows more than I do about it, so if he told you that, then that's the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not trying to question his
Oh, I understand.
his truth. I'm just trying to
I don't know
understand.
the answer to that, but he's been involved from day one, so if that's what he said, then that's the case.
All right, then I'd like to add then that, Matt, if I may, that my understanding, speaking with the president of the company today, is that, when they consolidate from using their other locations, that they're still going to primarily use their existing loading dock, and then it's going to, it's mostly a forward projection for the second bay, that it will be like a backup, but that it's not the initial plan in the next, year or two, for that to be a clear division of, this is how we come in, this is how we go out.
All right. Well, just for clarity, it is specified as a loading dock, so it does
Correct.
need to be usable as a loading dock. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, though.
And the deliveries and shipments, are those around the clock as well?
I think it was in the morning and in the afternoon.
Yeah, primarily we get deliveries in the morning, and almost exclusively we're shipping in the afternoon.
And how are you what, can you get into a little bit of detail about what exactly you're doing? Are you
Yeah.
processing the material? Okay.
Yeah, so what we do is we bring in master rolls of paper,
Yeah.
and we're embossing paper and we're converting paper. So by converting, I mean slitting, sheeting, rewinding.
Okay.
So our customers have different types of processing equipment, sheet-fed presses, roll-fed presses.
Yep.
They're making boxes on small sheets.
Mhm.
So we're, I mean, just as an example, in the case of a book, the way that works is the book gets written, everything gets designed, the publisher puts all the packaging together,
Mhm.
they send the project to the bindery calls us up and say, hey, we need a half truckload of paper. So we're kind of the last guys to know what's going on, so we simply have to have it.
Mhm.
And they need it, and that book, if it's a bestseller, needs to turn in 5 days.
Mm.
So we need to ship in 2 days.
Okay.
So that's sort of why we're doing this, and I mean it, we're the last guys to know, and when you have a bestseller, you have 8 weeks to capture, that trend.
Right.
As the sales going up.
Yeah.
So we simply have to have the inventory. And every bindery is different, and no one really wants to do the converting, so we've sort of made our mark by doing the converting and delivering the paper so they can begin using it immediately. That's where they make money. They're not
Sure.
making money off the converting, they're making money on making the case, making the package.
Yeah, okay. Good, thank you.
Through the chair, if I may.
Sure.
And this is directed towards the review engineer. As they're expanding this, the entire building becomes subject to the requirements of parking, right? So if the existing loading dock was not currently up to code, would it be possible to require that either to be discontinued or up to code?
That's getting into
Something for Adam?
zoning. Definitely want to direct that to Adam.
Okay.
As an engineer, I looked at it from the point that if they're not changing the use there, they're continuing the use as it is, from an engineering perspective, I couldn't see anything I could take exception with.
Well, as you said, it sounded like you said that they back out of the site, but my understanding, and looking at it, the sense of the loading dock, they would need to back into the site and then pull back out.
Now, I might have presented myself incorrectly, but they do back from the street to the loading docks at the current loading docks.
Yes.
What I want to review on any project is that a driver doesn't have to back from the street into a site or back out of the site into the street. The lesser of two evils would be backing into the site.
Exactly.
But neither situation is good.
This is the lesser of the two.
This is the lesser of the two evils in an area that was developed as a industrial park,
right.
and long before my time.
Exactly.
I couldn't take exception to rules that may have changed over the years.
Very good. I just wanted to bring that
Sure.
to the board. Thank you.
If they were changing some, not necessarily the manufacturing use, but the parking lot or something else over there, then it may or may not open things up for
Right.
reevaluation. In other words, I'd making things worse.
Very good. Thank you.
Do you know how many parking spots you have now?
About 60.
About 60, and you're going up to 95 total? Okay. All right. Does everyone feel we've addressed all your initial concerns and comments for now?
Yeah, I think so.
What was the comment from the chief, the fire chief?
Something we're gonna
he
bring up.
addressed it, it was just that,
Yeah, I think since Adam's not here, if it's agreeable to the applicant, we will have some requests from you, but we also want to follow up with him on
sure,
some of
yeah.
those things, so
Yeah.
I don't know when he's expected back, but he may contact you with
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's-
what he gets from this meeting and just address those issues as well.
Yeah, as it pertains to the fire chief, I believe that the comment, very good, valid comments.
Yeah, but it was a building
It's
code.
typically building
Right.
code stuff, and I'm not sure if it's a standard condition that the board may have or not, but basically, you gotta keep everyone else happy, through their other permits, and that's what we'd have to do in that sense. The fire chief's not gonna give us a building permit if he's not satisfied that we're providing adequate fire protection, for sure.
and is this gonna be a steel building? Yeah.
Super. Well, thank you for bringing this environmentally conscious business proposal to Lunenburg. We very much appreciate that type of thing.
So,
And you guys have a history in this town from, my understanding, 1984. So it's pretty cool, I think, that as a business, you guys have been in town for, so I'm 35, so that's 33 years. So you guys have been in business for 33 years, that this is, basically a doubling expansion of what your current operations. So, yeah, I think this is excellent. This is I think you guys are a great company. I think you guys are putting out a great thing. I know that, management-wise, you guys are from the area, Townsend, Lancaster, so this is very close to home for you guys. So I think this is great.
I'm not sure if we're trying to wrap up here, but if we are, if we can before, is it worth going over the waivers? In case, for some reason, the board doesn't feel comfortable that they may grant the waivers, that we may have to do additional work for the next time?
By all means.
The question of the proposed parking generation being 12 versus, what would you saying, 300 something?
309.
Right, so, I mean, that's the discrepancy. Can our review engineer speak to that at all?
The trip generation?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think it'd be closer to the lower number.
I can, I apologize, I don't have all the numbers off the top of my head, but we're talking 300 parking spaces based upon...
No, my comment was not about parking spaces, it was about traffic.
Traffic.
Trip traffic.
generation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Based on the numbers that was initially provided, the statement is that 5 trips per 1,000 square feet, which comes out to 306 trips per day.
In my opinion, very low numbers. You could ask for a traffic study or some form of a traffic study. I can almost guarantee you that they're going to come back, they're going to look at a few intersections, there's going to be minimal impact to the existing infrastructures, because those are extremely low numbers based upon my understanding of the traffic along, I'm sorry, I remember the name.
Pioneer.
Shirley Road, as well as Pioneer Drive. I mean, it's a fairly busy intersection, I go through there quite a bit. 300 vehicle trips over the course of a day is a very small number. They're going to tell you something that, you know, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I work with enough of it to understand the magnitude of what we're working with, and small drop in the bucket.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd say with the number of employees, I mean, they're gonna come and go and then maybe leave for lunch. And that's about it. And then with the number of deliveries and things like that.
John, the employees,
It's changing.
it does not really changing.
Right, that's what I mean. It's,
It's not much different.
The biggest impact might be when there's a shift change. For a few minutes, there might be a little delay trying to get out of the driveway, or maybe trying to negotiate the intersection of Pioneer Drive and Leominster Shirley Road, but those are pretty small, and it's related to that specific operation, because it's so close to the intersections.
I'd say the number of businesses on Pioneer Drive, it's probably, there's a lot bigger companies with probably a lot more employees, so.
And again, I think to point out, yes, that's a large expansion, but as far as what it's going to bring in for more employees is very minimal compared to that expansion, so it's not much of a change in that regards, too.
Alrighty, so do we want to address the list of questions that we would have for Adam since he's not here, just so that...
Do we want to
Do you want to hear the
Oh, well,
waivers discussion?
waivers?
Do we want to address the waivers now, or do we...
I think,
I don't see why not.
All right, do you want to take them individually, or should we do them as a whole? I think we can do them as a whole.
The other thing, please don't forget, it's not on our waiver letter, but the review picked up the datum discrepancy between the 1929 and basically 1988 datum. So we didn't ask for that waiver in the letter, but that would be another waiver that we would ask for.
For the
I
vertical.
think that one we would have to address, because they actually, for a waiver, they have to formally request it in
I didn't
writing.
last time, the last project, but that's fine, if that's what you'd like me to do.
If you wouldn't mind, just so we can make sure all our i's are dotted and t's are crossed, so. But I would entertain a motion on the other waivers if somebody chooses to make one.
I've lost my waivers.
Mr. Chair, would you mind repeating what you just stated?
Pardon me?
Would you mind repeating what you just stated?
Oh, I'd say we'd probably want to document the request for the datum waiver at the next meeting. But I would entertain a motion on the other waivers, either for or against granting them.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the photometric waiver.
you want to handle them all at once?
Do them all.
We can do them all at once, so there would be...
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve all 4 waivers that have been requested.
Second?
Any discussion?
Although they are in an office, in an industrial park, and the only direct abutter across the street is the gas station and another business, they do abut a residential use. So I'm curious to hear if Adam would have anything to say about any one of these things that we may not be aware of. It's just my inclination not to have gone over them at this meeting, but that's just my comment, and it's been moved and seconded, so.
It's a fair comment.
So,
We can amend the motion.
I was gonna say, do you want to amend the motion to take the community impact out and look at approving the 3 and then hold off on the community impact until we can get Adam's input? Is that what you're proposing?
I was actually thinking of the photometric plan as well. I mean, it doesn't look like it's very close to that residence, but looking at the...
Yeah, but they're already putting in dark sky compliant lighting.
Yeah, it's
so
gotta be shielded.
Right,
Can't
good
ask for
point.
anything more than that.
Perfect.
And they don't have any pole lighting proposed, so I
Yeah.
would assume
So-
that if
And
they
even
I
have-
believe
if we
there's
do, it's
also a
gonna be
line of
dark sky.
trees on that,
Right.
right along that edge of the property as well, so.
With about 20 to 30 feet of trees, I believe.
Again, I just have to point out that residentially used industrial property is over 200 feet away. So I think, we didn't feel that there was going to be any impact to that property that would warrant any studies in that regard.
And the owner of that property has not come to the meeting, but was notified of it as well.
And they were notified.
And their entrance is closer to Lancaster Ave. I mean, it's almost right across from Lancaster Ave.
Did you receive their green card?
We didn't send them out.
Oh,
We don't send out we don't do green cards.
who does? Oh, so
I send out a butter notification, but they do not go out
So it's-
certified.
it's not certified.
No,
Okay,
it's not.
interesting. So we assume they received it.
I expect that they
Just like
probably
every
would have
project,
been
I guess.
returned.
Per the regulations, right?
Per the regulations, yeah.
So that just means they don't have to sign for them, correct? If you don't do green cards?
That's true.
Okay.
But, you know, you also have to keep in mind that
If you want to,
if that's not the landowner, it may not go to them directly at all. It may go to the landowner, not the resident. So, anyway, it's neither here nor there.
Anyway,
So you got a motion
there was discussion on a moved and seconded
and
motion.
second.
right, and then you're not requesting an amendment to the motion?
That was just my discussion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Alrighty,
So,
Sorry.
no,
go right ahead.
so now we have to,
While I'm in the room, I want to give you my thoughts on the waiver you didn't vote on tonight, the vertical datum. Whereas Whitman and Bingham has worked elsewhere on the project and has done a lot of other site plans on the 1929 datum, I'd certainly recommend that you consider granting the waiver and keep it on the same datum. A lot of confusion can come by changing a vertical datum. We're talking about 3/4 of a foot plus or minus. That's not like 200 feet or something like that, so it's easily mixed in and things can go wrong if you did not grant the waiver.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would like to follow on to that they are crossing some existing utilities in the street, so that would have even greater impact, potentially.
You said it again, please? I didn't hear that.
They're proposing to cross existing utilities in the street for the drainage connections and I believe other but there's other utilities in the street that they need to
Yeah.
make sure that they don't collide with.
Yes, yes. You're saying, so uniformity would matter?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I don't see any reason they couldn't be on both, and the plans could
Oh.
represent the 88, but the construction documents represent the 29.
The requirement for the datum, is that from our rules?
Yes.
The best thing that could be done with the contractor is give them one set of plans with one set of numbers.
Okay.
Otherwise, it can be tough, I'm sorry to say, and two of those utilities, the water and the gas, they're both under pressure, and they got the typical berries, so they could vary a little bit in depth. They don't have elevations assigned to them like a gravity sanitary or a drainage system. So the plans would be helpful in that respect, but I think you'd be very comfortable just working for Pioneer Valley or whatever, the Pioneer Park, whatever it's called. Try to work throughout the park on the same vertical datum, I think. It's somewhere you're gonna have to make a line, but maybe it's at the front door or the back door or wherever you have a project abutting it.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think our hesitance is more just to hear from Adam than
Yeah.
initial
Yeah.
feedback of negative.
so Mr. Chair, would we now do a continuation of public hearing to a future meeting to?
Date certain.
To a date certain, just for your information, Adam will not be present at the August 14th meeting as well, and I don't know how much time you would need to address Jeff's comments, and
Very minimal time. This is all just mostly notations, so.
would you have any opposition to putting it off till August 28th?
And so Adam is out?
No, he'll be back, but he will not be in attendance at that meeting, so I'm not sure how much we can discuss outside of the meeting.
But he would still be able to correspond?
Yeah, oh yeah, he's just out of the office briefly now.
Would it be possible to put us on that agenda? And if it doesn't work out, that all the information couldn't be transferred back and forth, and Adam's not comfortable to portray his recommendations to the board, we come to the meeting and basically ask for a continuance then, to give us that opportunity?
Sure.
Speak for Adam, Adam's not here. Worst case, we say for another continuation to the next meeting.
And he would always have the opportunity to express any concerns to us before that
So
meeting.
if we could, if that's okay with the board.
If that's
I'd like-
okay with
like
the
to
board,
do
I'm
that.
fine with that, giving you the 14th, and then if anything outstanding comes up that we need to go further from Adam, then.
All right, I would move that we continue the public hearing to August 14th.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Great, thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Alrighty. Moving on to minutes approval. Thank you, Jeff.
Hey, thanks.
The minutes approval from July 10th, 2017.
No issues.
No issue.
No issues. I did want to just refer to you guys, I know we had discussion on the bylaw priority list, and on the second page, I'll just read it. A. Bernie noted on his July 10th, 2017 memo to the board, subject bylaw priorities, discussion ensued. The board was in agreement not to rush to get to the definitions and use table presented at fall town meeting. Instead, the board will focus on completing the bylaw priorities as outlined in the memo for May 28th annual town meeting. I just wanted to make sure that that was the consensus of the board, because we got some head nods and some words of agreement, but I just want to make sure that we don't move forward without everyone being on board, so.
What are you saying?
I'm just saying if that is a accurate description of what transpired, and that's how everybody.
Sorry.
It says on the bylaw priority list, A. Bernie noted on his July 10th, 2017 memo to the board, subject bylaw priorities, discussion ensued. The board was in agreement not to rush to get to the definitions and use table presented at a fall town meeting. Instead, the board will focus on completing the bylaw priorities as outlined in the memo for May 28th annual town meeting. And that was a bylaw priority list that he had submitted, and we had discussed what order we would take those
That
out.
was my understanding because
Okay.
of the way that, we were talking about.
Right, we just didn't officially vote on it or take a motion.
Oh.
I just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that that's what everybody's recollection was, and that's what we were agreeing to. So if there's no amendments, then that's what we'll go with. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the minutes from 7/10/17, the 1079 Massachusetts Avenue public hearing, the monopole.
No issues?
No comments?
The only comments I have is that we've taken out that a specific person has made a notice or a comment and has generalized by the board, which is probably much easier for Marjorie. I just happened to notice there's a lot fewer mentions of M. Allison or G. Bittner or Kate Janis, whatever, it just the board said. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, or if maybe I was seeing things.
I didn't notice that.
But I have no corrections.
Okay. And again, if we want something noted individually at the meeting, we can do that as well, so.
Just an observation.
Okay. No other comments? Thank you. And minutes approval for the joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board from July 18th, 2017.
No comments.
No comment.
Alrighty. That takes care of that. Thank you, Marjorie. Okay, committee reports. Capital Planning Committee is scheduling a preliminary meeting in anticipation of the upcoming budget season on August 15th, so we'll be meeting then to discuss the process moving forward. School Building Committee has not met, and the Green Communities Task Force has not met since January.
Well, the Stormwater Task Force is going to meet this Thursday at 7 o'clock, 6:30 at the Ritter. And we're going to be meeting with our DCI consultants to discuss how we move forward now that the state has given a one-year stay to the requirement of our notice of intent. So instead of this year, we have to have it ready for next year. That's about...
Is that specific to this town, or does every town get
No,
a
that's
one-year stay?
statewide.
Okay,
Yeah.
so everybody gets a stay.
statewide. And Agricultural Commission met last Thursday at 7 o'clock in the Ritter downstairs. They're going to be sponsoring the band concert on July 31st, I believe. And the farmers market is up to, I believe the last count was 12 vendors, doing quite well.
What's the concert and where's that gonna be?
The band concert.
Oh, at
Yep.
Yep, at the gazebo.
They're sponsoring the 31st.
Oh, good.
Yep. And there will be, I believe, root beer floats were very popular.
Wow. We had one of those in
I'm not quite sure what else, there was
30
something.
years.
Like a free meal to bring out the crowds.
Oh, I don't think it's free. I think they're charging.
That might be fun.
That's fine.
Matt, what's the foot traffic to the farmer's market?
So,
Average.
let's say, I think we were talking about it, and there were probably well over 100 people in, 3 hours from 10 to 1.
Okay.
My wife and I have a booth there. We had probably 7 people buy stuff from us.
Wow.
Maybe, no, probably more than that, yeah. Hopefully we're gonna have ducklings next Sunday.
Sounds good.
My tooth was out.
Oh, that's
My tooth
mean.
out.
Oh, that's mean. Oh, that was harsh.
Get them when they're down.
I did see on the agenda they had a discussion on the noise ordinance. Was that discussed at all? Or
I'm sorry?
under new business, I believe, on the agenda for AgCom, there was supposed to be some discussion on a noise ordinance?
There was, and I think it was the previous agenda, but there might have been a follow-up on it. I think that there was a complaint.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember specifically, noise ordinance. And it wasn't to do with the previous festival?
Well, they had the update on the festival, and then under new business, it had discussion of a noise ordinance.
Okay.
So I don't know if they were related.
I don't think that they had anything to do with each other.
Okay.
There was a follow-up because my wife and I were actively participant in that Unifier event on Holman Street, and we have kept in touch with the promoter, Jason Cohen, and they bought the 410-acre parcel in Tallinn, Mass. And we went out and visited with the Tallinn residents, and that was a very nice time. That was the update on the Tallinn issue, but the Unifier issue. But the noise ordinance,
I just didn't know if they wanted to put forward a bylaw, or whether they were in favor of a noise ordinance or not.
you know what?
I just,
You're gonna have...
if you wanna get back to me,
I'm gonna have to
go
take a
ahead.
pass on that and
Sure.
come back to me, please.
no problem.
Thank you. I
Does
will-
Matthew, if I could ask you, does the Ag Commission, do they coordinate, if you had some ideas on marketing, would they be the ones to coordinate marketing between farmers? Like on how to better promote farming in the community?
Sure,
Would they be
yeah.
the ones to contact?
Definitely.
Okay.
I mean, you say market, and I'm thinking farmer's market. And
Yeah.
we do have a market manager now.
Yeah.
So if you had marketing ideas for the farmer's market, they could go to Janine LaValle,
Okay.
and then you can go to the Lunenburg Community Farmers Market Facebook page,
Yeah.
and her contact will be there,
Okay.
as well as Maureen, who's the clerk of AgCom, and Jeff, who is the chair.
Okay. Just curious about, like, do they spend any time meeting on bigger ideas, you know, how to coordinate efforts across farmers in town to sort of build the image of the farmers, the
We
farming
do.
community within the town?
We do.
Okay.
And I'm gonna circle back to the Unifier Festival. There were 12 local farmers who donated or discounted products and who greatly benefited for providing services to the festival. Dick's Market Garden, they made regular trips up there. I think almost every day they made a trip to there.
Okay.
So it was good.
There's a lot of interconnectivity. Yeah.
Yes, and then we're keeping that list, and we're going to add that to the existing farming list for AgCom,
Okay.
just to keep everybody up to date and in a group,
Good. Thank you.
certainly. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I think you did. That's, sounds like you guys got a group together that are thinking large, so that's good.
300 years next year, settled.
Excellent.
All right, MJTC?
MJTC, yes. So we had the meeting on Wednesday, July 12th. And I also have the minutes from the June 14th meeting, which I was not able to attend, although I'm a little leery about presenting any findings from just the minutes, given the situation that happened last time I did that. But they did do the nominations and voting of new office members for the MJTC, so that was done in June. They updated the Unified Planning Work Program, UPWP, and sent that out for reviews. And there was one comment that came back on the July 12th meeting, so we reviewed that. So nothing earth-shattering in either of those meetings. They did do a Route 2 safety performance analysis out west, where they had done some rework. But unfortunately, the way they did their analysis, it was inconclusive. The overall crash rates were significantly lower, but there were 2 fatalities that were introduced. And so now they need to do a full-blown study on the area to determine whether or not the changes that they made to the highway in any way contributed to the fatalities, because there were no fatalities from before. And then the one point of information that's probably interesting to Lunenburg is there's a new municipal ADA improvement grant program that is opening August 1st. This would give the town an opportunity to get grant money for ADA-type improvements. I'm not sure that we have anything that's pending critical, but the thing like the elevator that was put in here that would have qualified, we could have got a grant for that. I think any kind of access into the building, like adding a secondary entrance ramp where the primary entrance is to a building, that would qualify, things like that. And so I just wanted to mention that that'll be opening August 1st, if the town has any interest in going for some grant money for ADA improvements. There was the MJTC has not received the paperwork from Lunenburg. We're one of the towns that has not submitted our planning board appointment or board of selectmen appointment for the MJTC yet. So I did tell them verbally that the planning board appointed me to continue on as MJTC, but they said they'd like the paperwork from the town. They're expecting a form from the planning board with our appointment, and they're expecting a form from the board of selectmen with their.
I always said that.
Okay. Yeah,
And
there's-
they each have an appointee?
Yeah, so
Okay.
each of us is supposed to have an appointee, and generally, we collectively decide who's a primary and secondary, or we just both primaries. As long as one of us goes to the meeting, as you know, there hasn't been a secondary for the 3 or so years that I've been doing it. The August 9th meeting is canceled because it's summer break, and the next meeting will be September 13th.
All right, thank you. MRPC, Dave?
No meeting, next one is called off because of summer, so, next one will be in September. Nothing on open space either.
Alrighty.
No report.
If I may.
Sure.
I remembered what the noise ordinance thing was.
Okay.
It was a local complaint. It was a neighbor to neighbor. It was somebody that had chickens, and the police were called. And the police couldn't do anything because it's a by right use. So that's what it was. It was one neighbor complaining about their other neighbor's chickens.
Was it a rooster?
Or roosters?
Could have been either.
I would guess if it's a noise ordinance complaint, it was a rooster.
Well, 3 in the morning. right?
Exactly, yeah.
And then to add to that, Lunenburg does not have a noise ordinance. It reverts back to the state.
Right, and it comes under police as a nuisance, whether something's
If
considered.
it's after 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right, between 11 and 7, I believe. I'm not quite sure, but.
Yeah, roosters are pretty early.
Yeah, yeah.
Alrighty, director's items, we need to endorse the decision and plan for the 1079 Mass Ave.
Indeed.
So that's just easy.
So we just have to sign it.
These, the board members only need to sign up the yellows.
Okay. And then Adam's not here, so we won't be discussing the definitions and use tables, but I will be speaking to him as to what we can expect at the next meeting and get that out to everyone so we can be prepared. Our meeting schedule is August 14th. We have a public hearing for 675 and 667 Reservoir Road. I believe we received a memo from Adam that he will not be here, and we need to decide whether we want to move forward with that. We do have time under the timelines to put it off till the next meeting.
Can you refresh my memory? Have we seen that yet? So we haven't even seen it yet.
So I'll
Can we
just
get a-
read,
Oh.
so Adam's,
Not Adam, the whatever's on the agenda.
yeah, it's just a stormwater.
You have the hearing notice in your packet.
Oh, yes, yeah. The one he said that it's a question of, yeah, I remember it now, okay.
So I don't know if we're comfortable moving forward with that on the 14th, or do we want to put it off?
Well, we're also gonna have these people coming back on the 14th.
Right, so I'm confident we can handle it.
Yeah,
so.
I think so.
All right, then we'll leave it as is. He's just sign the yellow. And our August 28th meeting, I don't believe we have anything on the agenda as of yet. Is there any more public comment from the public? Any more public comment from the board?
I have I'm not sure I don't think it's appropriate to talk about the last, public hearing, but I was wondering if next time, if we had some questions next time if we had questions, maybe we could just send them to Adam, you know what I mean, and help push it along, you know what I mean, get the answers to the questions, take a vote to get, motion to send certain questions to Adam, get the answers back, and that way if he's not gonna be here, we can still proceed. That's all.
I think that's what we said we were gonna do, right?
As far as the bylaw,
Yeah.
the bylaw discussions?
No,
No.
as far as the,
I think what
Yeah, I was gonna
you're gonna
give-
send,
There was a
send,
couple things we wanted clarification from Adam.
yeah, I
Yeah.
talked to him, he was gonna watch the meeting,
okay, so he'll probably get back.
and I'll make sure that he's aware that we did have some things we wanted to discuss.
Great, excellent.
But by all means, if you have individual questions, send them along to him.
Yep, okay.
We just can't all discuss it. It's not.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying, I just wanted to make sure that,
But yeah, if you have individual questions, please send them along to
Yeah.
him.
I had one comment slash request. This is kind of silly nit, but Do you think it would be possible that we could have someone move the American flag into a position that it can be seen by everybody in the audience?
I don't have any objection to that.
I don't know who
Be
would
happy.
do that. I just noticed that.
Where would you suggest?
Well, I think it just has to be moved out a little bit.
Sure.
Closer to the edge, if possible, because it's
Out of
kind of.
hiding?
It's hiding behind this wall here, so if you're on that side of the room, when we do the Pledge of Allegiance and everybody stands, everybody that's on that side of the room is saying a Pledge of Allegiance to a flag that they cannot see.
Go in that corner.
That's right, as long as when I move my chair back, I don't knock it over.
Yeah. I just something that I have noticed.
Sure.
That's a good observation.
To fill out a request form for that.
Do I submit that to you?
Yeah, I think that's, is that John Londa Facilities?
School, no, that might be
Look,
Jack.
it's losing air. I'm just shrinking as we speak.
Bet you Jack would get right on that.
Alrighty, ongoing items, complete streets, there's no update on that. Board comments and concerns, I think we addressed most of those. And again, I'd just like to welcome Michael to the group and look forward to working with him. So
Welcome, Michael.
Welcome, Michael.
Thank you very much.
Again, welcome.
I would accept the
Move that we
motion
adjourn?
to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.